The following program is underwritten in part by Viagen Pets, the leading provider of animal genetic preservation and cloning services. Preserve the genes of your dog or cat to extend the special bond you share with them. Get your free information kit and special offer for Animal Radio listeners at www.viagenpets.com. That's VIAGEN Pets.com.
Celebrating the connection with our pets. This is Animal Radio, featuring your dream team, veterinarian Dr. Debbie White and groomer Joey Villani. And here are your hosts, Hal Abrams and Judy Francis.
Welcome, my friend. Here is the toll-free number, 1-866-405-8405. On the other end of that phone, Judy, she's screening your calls for Dr. Debbie and dog father Joey Villani. Ladybug, the studio's not dog. Yes, she gets
lots of calls.
More calls than the doctor gets. Pretty sure about that. I think she actually uses this phone line as her own personal toll-free phone line. She's a smart dog.
I thought I seen her on the phone.
But anyway, 1-866-405-8405 to reach us here at Animal Radio. In just a few minutes, Doc Halligan is going to be on. She's going to tell you what to do with that cat poop.
What not to do with it.
What to do with it and what not to do with it.
Yeah.
She'll tell us what to do with it, too. Because, a lot of people, they take that cat poop right out of the litter and they flush it down the toilet. Yeah, I know. I don't do that because it would plug up my toilets. But apparently there's more reasons why you shouldn't do that. I bet you could even guess. Well, yeah, it's the same reason that you shouldn't flush your narcotics down the toilet. You're poisoning a water supply. So, but she'll explain that in just a few minutes right here on Animal Radio. Also, we got this guy who's Dr. Stephan Katz. I shouldn't say guy, very well-known doctor. He has a brand new treat. It's a cannabis-based treat for your animals, and I'm a little concerned.
It's actually a therapy. It's not just treats. It's supposed to it's therapeutic. There's things that it's supposed to be doing for their joints and for itching, and it's not just.
But I thought you shouldn't give pot to your animals.
I don't know. There's a lot of studies out. I'm not sure anymore.
Well,
is he handing out samples?
I don't know if he's handing out samples.
Edibles?
Jeez.
I'm just wondering. I'm just asking.
I understand, because anything that I feed my animals, I want to try first. I do try first. I try every cat food and every dog food that my animals eat.
That's why your breath smells so bad. It smells fishy.
And sometimes venison-y.
Yeah.
Okay. We digress. And what are you working on over there in the newsroom, Miss Brooks?
Hey, we know why Ladybug is costing you guys money with her expensive habit of talking on the phone.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to tell you about a dog who went out to go potty and came back $1,000 richer.
Wow.
That never happens
so she's
to me.
making money.
Okay, that's
I could go into the restroom all day.
I still do, but nothing happens.
Well, you have to stick around to find out how that story ends right here on Animal Radio. Okay, are we ready to go to the phones? Let's do it. Well, hey, Robert.
Hey, hello.
How are you doing?
Pretty good.
How can we help you today? I got the entire dream team here.
Well, I just recently acquired a 6-month-old Great Dane puppy, and we took her in for her checkup, and everything looked good except for she was diagnosed with entropion in the left lower lid.
Okay.
And it was and I noticed there was a lot of drainage before I went in, so I had asked about it. He said, what happens is the little hairs are poking her in the eye and irritating the eye. He said you could tell it was very uncomfortable for her. And she had a lot of drainage, and she was always pawing at it, rubbing it, and it looked like, she had sucked the eyeball back into the socket. And he said, that dogs can do that, and they do that to protect the eye. So he suggested, it looks like it's really bothering her. And he said, we're going to spade her in 2 weeks. He said we could probably go ahead and fix the eyelid at that time. So then the guy that bred the dog asked if we could bring the puppy into his vet, so we did. And that vet said, that dog's way too young to do the surgery, that I wouldn't recommend it at this point. She said there's ointments and, tear stuff that you can put in it to keep the dog comfortable. But, and then, of course, I'm getting a lot of opinions from a lot of different people. I went back to my vet and kind of voiced those concerns, and he said, I've done this on dogs that young many times. He said it's always worked. He said, but if you want to go out and get some other opinions, that's fine. But in his opinion, the dog would be fine. He's done it before and very successfully. He said, and then of course both of them indicated that some of the problems the dog might have if you don't fix it is, scratching the cornea or irritating the cornea and ulcers and all kinds of other things that might come down the line. And my honest opinion, I just hate to see her living with this misery.
Sure. Doc, tell me what's going on.
There were some other procedures that they said you might want to try, like tacking or something of that nature.
Okay.
And I just really don't know what to do.
So let me bring Hal and everyone else into the loop of things. We're talking about entropion, entropion, entropion. So what it is basically it's a rolling in of the eyelid, which puts hairs, which are normally facing the outside of the body, and rubbing them up against the cornea, the clear part of the eye. And that causes pain because the cornea is not supposed to be touching things. And anyone who gets hair in their eye knows what that feels like. Or if you get a scratch on your contact lens, you know how painful it is. So that is something we don't want dogs to live with, and we do want to surgically repair. So the big question here, and I think the concern that this caller has is really what is the best timing for that? And it really depends on a couple factors. Ideally, if the pet is not having distress or active ulcers, we would prefer to wait till the majority of the pet's growth is done. And for a large breed dog, that would be maybe between 10 to 12 months of age. And the reason for that is that we don't want to have to set ourselves up to do 2 surgeries, because it is possible if we correct this now, we may either overcorrect it or undercorrect it. So we want to wait till that full head growth is over with, and that we know that we've got the eyelids we're going to be dealing with for the rest of her life. So that's the reason we would want to wait. The situations where I don't wait is when we actually have an active corneal ulcer, because that means that we've got a painful dog that has injury to the cornea, and unless we really make some moves to correct that, we're really setting ourselves up for problems. So the question is, in those situations, what do? We can actually do the corrective surgery where we repair the eyelid conformation and put sutures in, or there's what we call tacking. And tacking is historically done on young puppies, so just under a couple months of age, because it's a short-term temporary fix until those dogs can grow into their eyelids. And that's just kind of a temporary suture that's put in the, not in the eyelid sections, but more in the haired area. And those just kind of stay there, take away the irritation, the rubbing on the eye, and then we can get to a point where the pet's a little bit older and more grown. So, I'd have to say you're kind of really in that zone there right now. If your pet is having a lot of discomfort where the eye is recessed, and that's what that means. That means that eye is in pain when they retract that globe into their eye. So if she's in a lot of discomfort, or if she's got an ulcer, you know what? I would embrace repairing that at this point. But I think that's between you and your veterinarian that can look at her right now. Yeah. The purist that would say, let's put it off until later. If everything's going well and we can keep your baby comfortable, that might be the ideal situation for things there.
Yeah, she does squint a lot and kind of keep it closed. You can kind of look at her, and she's got it mostly closed and squinting and rubbing at it, so you can tell she's in a fair amount of discomfort. Yeah, and that's my thing is I just hate to see her like that for any prolonged period of time.
Yeah, and that would be the thing is that, if you repaired that right now, is knowing, we might not correct it as much as we need to, or we might overcorrect it. And if you're okay with that right now, then I don't see a reason that you shouldn't have the surgery done. And making sure right now that we are doing things to help her out. We are giving her pain medication, like maybe tramadol for the corneal pain, that she is on a protective lubricant in the eye, or even an antibiotic if necessary. And if we're not doing those things, I would certainly do those before I'd make a decision on this.
Yeah, we've been using, they told us to get artificial tears and stuff to keep the eye nice and moist in the meantime. It's just, so the only downside on that is we might have to go in and do a second procedure if it doesn't correct completely or overcorrected. We might have to go in and have a second procedure.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I don't see a downside to that other than the fact that it's going to cost a little more money, so.
Right, and nobody wants to have 2 surgeries. That would be the other thing. But yeah, if you're more worried about addressing her comfort level and fixing it now, then I think she's close enough.
And I prefer to get it before it starts causing a lot of damage to the cornea or anything like that.
Oh, absolutely. So, well, you have your baby's best needs at heart, so that's admirable. And thank you for rescuing and saving a life.
So your suggestion would be if she's in a lot of discomfort, go ahead and have the procedure if you're not worried about having a second one down the road.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's what I wanted to hear. She goes in to be spaded in 2 weeks, so I wanted to address this before we got in there.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate the help.
Thanks for your call, Robert. Toll free, 1-866-405-8405. Yeah, if you need a second opinion, Dr. Debbie's here to give you a second opinion. And a third opinion. You should hear her. She has opinions all day long.
She's a very opinionated lady.
Well, this portion of Animal Radio is written in part by World's Best Cat Litter. May I suggest you ditch your giant boxes of cat litter and switch to the concentrated power of World's Best Cat Litter. It delivers big performance in a small little tiny package. I get mine over at Target, Walmart, and my local grocery store. Thanks, World's Best, for underwriting this portion of Animal Radio. Well, hello, Margie. How are you doing?
Well, I have a female Cavalier King Charles. She's 7 years old, and she went in and had a test that she had a urinary tract infection. Ooh. And then the doctor noticed that in the last 8 months, she had lost half her weight. She was 26 pounds 8 months ago, and she's 13 now.
And you didn't notice this?
My. Holy cow.
Well, yes, I did, because before that, the visit before, she was very heavy. Okay. So we put a mixture of diet dog food and regular dog food together. So she'd lose a little weight. We expected her to lose weight, so which she did, but I didn't expect it to be.
That's dramatic, yeah.
She couldn't even jump up on the bed because she was so heavy. So we thought we were doing the right thing. The vet even told us she had to lose some weight. So we took a blood test, and she said she has a protein deficiency, and that might be the problem of her weight loss.
So let's see. So is she having other symptoms as well as anything like diarrhea? Is she vomiting?
No, that's exactly what the vet asked, and I was surprised she's not.
Did they describe what kind of proteins? Because when we talk about there's total protein and then there's albumin and globulin, when we interpret those, it's important to know what types of proteins are abnormal.
Oh, no, she didn't tell us.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about proteins. So I doubt that we could call what she has a protein deficiency. She has hypoproteinemia, which means she has low levels of proteins in her blood. So the thing we have to really look at is what's causing that. And there are a whole big categories of reasons why a dog or cat's protein levels will be low in their body. We may have problems with, say, kidney disease, where we lose protein in the urine. We can have problems with liver disease, where they don't produce enough protein. There can be intestinal disorders where they leak protein into their intestinal tract, or even problems like Addison's disease, which is a hormone-type problem. So those are some of the kind of big categories. The thing that I would be really curious to know on your dog's particular situation is if those albumin and globulin, the two categories of protein, if they're both low. If they are both low and she's been losing weight, then that really kind of scooches me into that one category of intestinal disease. So even though a pet doesn't have vomiting, doesn't have diarrhea, and may or may not even have weight loss, there could still be significant intestinal disease going on, that we could be leaking proteins into the intestinal tract. The fact that your dog is dropping a lot of weight, yeah, I'd say that's a definite a big indicator to me that there may be something going on there. So the quick answer is this needs more investigation. So there's not necessarily a single diet that's going to be appropriate to treat that. But there are a whole category of what we call protein-losing enteropathies that do benefit from low-fat diets. And what that does is it basically helps the body to retain protein in the intestinal tract. So instead of leaking that out, they can retain their own proteins. But there's other causes of, why they would leak protein protein besides what we call PLE, or protein-losing enteropathy. So there can be other secondary problems. So cancer can still be on the table here. So we do have to kind of consider that. Inflammatory bowel disease can cause some secondary protein-losing issues in the intestinal tract as well. So that's why I say, you need to have this followed up a little bit further with some other types of testing, whether that's endoscopy with biopsies, or there's some fecal tests that we can do to test for some different enzymes. In the short term, I don't know that in 2 weeks a diet change is necessarily going to fix things. But if you were looking at making strategies, I would look at low-fat diets. Either there's great veterinary prescription diets for that purpose, or kind of what we call the white diets, which are white meat and like white rice, or cottage cheese and white rice. Those tend to be very low in fat and still good digestibility.
Yeah, right now she's just on. We moved her from obviously the diet food. We took her off that, and we put her on Little Caesar, like the chunky food.
Okay, well, that's
but maybe that's not good.
Not one of my favorites if we're talking about low fat and eating things that are going to be healthy for the gut. But I will tell you that a lot of intestinal problems, these protein-losing enteropathies, are actually some of the low-fat foods tend to be high in fiber, and that actually can be the wrong strategy for pets that have absorptive problems, because the fiber actually can interfere with the body's ability to maintain their own protein levels.
What should you be looking for?
Well, I would be looking for a fat content below 20%. So most of the commercial foods are really between 20 and 30% fat on an energy basis, so we try to go under 20%.
Should I just make her chicken and rice?
You could, but actually, believe it or not, turkey is a lower fat meat than chicken. So it actually would be my preference. So,
okay. Turkey and white rice, and that is better than what I'm feeding her now.
Yeah, definitely better than the Caesar right now. So, but any diet change you got to do slow. Don't go switching things overnight on her. But I sure hope that you guys can get to the bottom of that, because that kind of weight loss is so dramatic. That is not the normal weight loss. My best wishes to you and your little one.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
Stella and Chewy's believes that selecting the best food is one of the most important decisions an owner can make for their pet. We believe that pets thrive when they're fed the same diet they'd get in the wild. Dogs and cats are carnivores, and meal mixers are a quick and convenient way to mix a little raw nutrition and great taste into their diet. Made from premium raw ingredients like grass-fed meat and cage-free poultry with organic fruits and vegetables. Meal mixers help kickstart your kibble. Learn more at StellaandChewy's.com.
Like a lot of you, I used to struggle to get to sleep. Of course, that was before I met Mike Lindell and was fit for MyPillow. I've never slept so well or felt so rested. That's because MyPillow is fit to you, the kind of sleeper you are. If you're a back sleeper or a side sleeper, or how big or small you are. MyPillow is the pillow with the perfect fit. Then at night I move the patented MyPillow fill just to the right place for me, to support my head and to cradle me like, Let me tell you, a good night's sleep is a life changer. MyPillow doesn't go flat, it doesn't get hot, and I sleep like a baby. Now it's your turn. I have a very special offer for you. Buy one MyPillow, and we'll give you one for your partner free. Call 800-867-0058 and use the promo code AW for your free pillow. And start sleeping better right away. Call 800-867-0058 or go to MyPillow.com and be sure to use the promo code AW for 2 life-changing pillows for the price of one. Make the call.
This is Glenn Close on Animal Radio, urging you to spay or neuter your pet.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
Grab your animals, bring them around the radio. We have our animals here. We're very lucky, very blessed to have our animals in studio and working with us, except for today, Lori, it looks like you're all alone in there in the newsroom. What's up with that?
A little quiet, isn't it?
It is quiet, more quiet than usual, I've noticed.
Yes.
Let's see. We're going to head to the phones in just a couple of minutes for your calls for Dr. Debbie and dog father Joey Villani. Also got this guy on, and you may have heard about this already. There's a lot of cannabis treats available now for your animals. These are made from derivatives of marijuana, and there's many brands on the market. There's this one guy, he's a doctor, I believe he's a doctor, Dr. Stephan Katz. We may have even spoken to him before.
I think we have.
He's behind a brand new cannabis treat, and I'll be real honest with you, I'm a little anxious about it, a little nervous about it. I'm not sure this is...
I thought all the research said that you're not supposed to give dogs cannabis.
That's exactly what I thought.
There's not enough research done for me yet to give my dog that.
Well, we're going to ask the doctor what he knows.
Okay.
And that's right around the corner in just a couple of minutes. What are you working on over there in the newsroom, Miss Brooks?
Well, I found this incredible study that just came out, and a very reliable source, too. It was done at Arizona State University. And it is all about how the two words put together, pit bull, negatively impact dogs that are not even a so-called pit bull.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal the way, it's breed bias. We'll tell you about it. So if you ever, end up in a shelter and you're looking for a pet and you see one labeled as a pit bull, make sure you tell somebody, no, that's not right, and we'll give you the reasons.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? Big cities, major cities like Denver, Colorado, where you could go buy an ounce of pot and a firearm all in about 6 hours.
And they're so pet friendly.
Right, but you can't have a pit bull there.
You can't have a pit bull there. And that's breed discrimination. And, well, you'll tell us all about it in just a few minutes right here on Animal Radio. Stick around for that. Oh, I wanted to mention that if you can't get through or you're not near a phone, you can download the Animal Radio app and ask your questions directly from the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android. Thanks to those folks over at Drs. Foster's and Smith.
Animal Radio is underwritten in part by Viagen Pets, the leading provider of animal genetic preservation and cloning services. Preserve the genes of your dog or cat to extend the special bond you share with them. Learn more at www.viagenpets.com. That's VIAGEN Pets.com.
For over a decade, Viagen has been the leading provider of genetic preservation and cloning services of prized livestock, with thousands of satisfied clients. Now announcing Viagen Pets, providing genetic preservation and cloning services to pet parents. Consider preserving the genes of your pet to extend the special bond you share with them. Get your free information kit and special offer for Animal Radio listeners at www.viagenpets.com. That's VIAGEN Pets.com.
Hi, this is Doug Ray of the Marshall Tucker Band, and forever you'll always be listening to Animal Radio. Keep loving those pets.
This is
Animal Radio.
This is an Animal Radio News Update, brought to you by Drs. Foster and Smith Pet Pharmacy, with prescription medications and over-the-counter products like Advantix flea and tick medication delivered right to your door. Learn more at fosterandsmith.com.
I'm Lori Brooks. A new study says that dogs that are labeled as pit bulls sit unadopted far longer at shelters, and potential adopters view them as much less attractive than other dogs. The research also proves, from the University of Arizona is where they did it, by the way, it proves that the pit bull label very negatively influences a dog's chances of adoption from a shelter. It happens even though many dogs labeled pit bulls, which isn't even a breed, aren't genetically pit bull types at all. The authors of the study, published in the journal PLOS One, concluded that removing breed labels would be best for all dogs in shelters for 3 reasons. Number 1, dogs labeled pit bulls spend more than 3 times longer in a shelter than similar-looking dogs not labeled as pit bulls. Number 2, the company a pit bull keeps apparently influences how the dog is perceived. You see, college students were shown photos of each of the same 3 dogs sitting next to a human. Those humans being an elderly woman, a middle-aged woman in a wheelchair, a young boy, a middle-aged, kind of classic, good-looking athletic man, and a rough-looking man who had tattoos. Survey respondents judged the so-called pit bulls to be friendlier and more adoptable when they were next to the young boy or the elderly woman. And the third reason they say pit bull types at shelters are more likely to be adopted if they're given no breed label. And by the way, that goes for all dogs in shelters as well. Continuing on this, researchers analyzed more than 17,000 adoption records. They found that 52% of pit bull types were adopted when their supposed breed was listed. But 64% were adopted when the shelter did not use any breed labels at all. By the way, other breeds were also adopted at much higher rates, and they say Mastiff adoptions went up 15% when no breed labels were used. I'm Lori Brooks. Get more breaking animal news anytime at animalradio.com.
This has been an Animal Radio News Update brought to you by Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Pharmacy. With everyday low prices on products like Quellin and Rimadyl delivered right to your door with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Learn more at fosterandsmith.com.
Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Supplies have a Vet VIPPS accredited online pharmacy covering all your pet's needs, from heartworm medications and anti-inflammatories like Rimadyl to non-prescription items like Canine Advantix Flea and Tick Preventive. Doctors Foster and Smith has your pet covered. We'll even contact your vet for you, all with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Low prices every day with free shipping on orders over $49. Shop online at fosterandsmith.com because your pet's health and happiness come first.
Did you know canine caviar diets are formulated with common health concerns in mind, such as diabetes, cancer, and kidney disease? You see, canine caviar uses low GI carbs, which reduce hunger and prolong physical endurance. Free of GMO, gluten, hormones, steroids, and antibiotics, canine caviar's 5-star dog and cat foods are the only alkaline-based foods in the world, and that promotes a healthy lifestyle for your furry family. Find out more at caninecaviar.com.
It's Animal Radio, celebrating the connection with our pets. And we welcome to the airwaves Dr. Doug Green. He's a psychotherapist specializing in helping kids and teens. Doc, welcome to the show.
Hey, Hal. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
Very good. You know, I'm looking at your brand new book. It's called The Teachings of Shirelle, and I like this subtitle, Life Lessons from a Divine Knucklehead. And first of all, who was Shirelle, and why was Shirelle a knucklehead?
She was born that way, I think. But I should throw in there first, just for false advertising. I'm not actually a doctor. I am a therapist, but not an actual doctor. But I have a private practice in L.A., and I'm here because of this dog, because of Shirelle. And she wasn't the smartest dog I ever knew, or the noblest, or purest breed, anything like that. She was kind of a dope a lot of the time. But she was the greatest teacher of timeless wisdom that I ever knew.
She taught you some lessons.
She taught me a lot of lessons. She was in the pound when I first met her. She was just this puppy in a cage, and there was no card on the cage for her, labeling anything about her. And I turned to one of the employees of the pound and said, "Can you tell me anything about this puppy?" And he said, "Oh, that's Kelly's dog. Hey, Kelly, somebody wants to buy Knucklehead." And the deal was that this puppy this was a very overcrowded pound. They had, they wouldn't keep dogs more than 4 days. Mm-hmm. And she had been there 5 days and developed a reputation. And I'm saying there had to be 1,000 dogs in there. And she already had a reputation and a nickname. And this one person there had kind of fallen in love with her and stolen the card so that no one could see it and put her down. And just to give her a couple more days. And that's how I ended up with her. But she was Knucklehead before I ever met the poor thing.
Maybe you can give us a tease or a taste of what kind of life lessons we will learn from Shirelle.
Well, I'll give you an early one. When I had her maybe 2 weeks, and she was about 3 months old when I got her. And she had done pretty well. She had learned to use the newspapers pretty well, and she was doing okay. But, of course, accidents happen. And one day I walk into my front room, and there she is under the dining room table, peeing on the carpet, on the rug. And I should add here one thing about her, which was weird at this point, was that she had never barked. And otherwise she seemed totally normal. But she was part husky, and I know a lot of huskies don't bark, and so I thought maybe it was something to do with that. I thought, it'll make her less of a watchdog, but it'll be okay. because she'll be quiet and pleasant to have around. And anyway, I see her under the table, and I walk up to her and sternly say, no. And she looks around and starts to bite my leg. And I say, no. And she turns around and starts to lick up the urine. And I say, no. And she starts to bite the table leg. And I say, no. And she starts to lick up where I'm mopping up the urine. And I say, no. And she bites my hand. And I say, no. And she turns at me and looks at me with this rage in her eyes, just furious frustration. And out of her comes this sound. And it was the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I picked her up and just started, kissing her face and kissing her nose. Like, I'm sorry. I know this is tough. At that time, what it hit me about that was that's the moment I fell in love with this dog. But years later, it struck me that really there was a profound moment there because she, as she grew older, developed the ugliest bark I've ever heard out of any dog. This horrible sound, just awful. And she never once hesitated to bark. She had learned early on that her voice, which, her first expression with her voice was obscenities at me, and her voice was loved and lovable. And in my work, in my psychotherapy practice, what I find is so often people learn the opposite. And their parents will teach them, anything you do is fine, don't worry about it, and then they're screwed up for life. or how dare you say such things, you're horrible. And what she got is, don't pee don't pee inside the house, don't bite the table, don't bite me, and your voice is really treasured. And so she grew up with this belief in herself, this okayness, this lack of shame that we suffer so much from, that was just an incredible fountain for me of goodness and lessons.
These animals, they live in the present. They don't have a past, they don't have a future, and that I think is one of the biggest lessons that we could really learn, huh? Yeah, they live in the moment, knowing what they've learned. They live in the moment, and that is so spectacular. And we work so hard at it. We do our mindfulness, our meditation, all that. They just have it. They have it courtesy of having smaller brains, and it gives them such a joy in life. I find, the example I love to give to people is when you walk out the door first thing in the morning, what do you do first? And my take is usually you run out the door, you slam it, you lock it, you run to your car because you're running late to work, you're cussing out something, you realize you've forgotten something, you run back inside, grab that, get back in your car, and you're cussing out the drivers that are in your way, and that's it.
You know me, don't you?
Intimately, Judy. A dog, you open that door, and they're going to run outside and stop and take it all in for just 1 second. The ears are up. And if we did that, and you just walked out in the morning and said, wow, what a beautiful day, then it changes your whole morning. Now, you still can cuss the drivers out in the way to work because they deserve it.
Of course.
But you're in a better place. You're in a more cheerful place for it.
The book is called The Teachings of Shirelle, Life Lessons from a Divine Knucklehead. The author, Douglas Green. I have 10 copies to give away right now. Toll free at 1-866-405-8405. If you're not lucky enough to get on through, head on over to Amazon.com or your local bookstore. Douglas Green. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Al. Thanks, Judy.
Hello, Animal Radians. It's Robert Semro, your Pet World Insider, here with this week's Animal Radio List, 5 indoor activities to keep your cat from going crazy. Crazy cat people is a term often misused and certainly not something we believe here at Animal Radio. That being said, boredom and neglect can create behaviors in your cat that can certainly create challenges for even the sanest cat person. So do yourself and, more importantly, your cat a favor by creating an indoor environment that enriches and entertains your cat. Here's a few suggestions. Let's start with the indoor places to roam. A cat tree, a cat perch, or a cat mansion will all provide a place where the cats can truly be the kings and queens of their realms. These items have become more stylish, less intrusive, and much more integrated in homes than ever before. The sophistication and innovation have not only benefited cat owners, but the cats themselves. Cats want to be challenged, and they demand stimulation, or their curiosity will certainly get the best of them. Next up is toys. Have a variety of toys for them to play with, and place them in places that encourage them to seek them out and engage their prey sensibilities. Toys that offer interaction and speed are also a great way to engage, encourage, and satisfy their prey instincts. Cat toys have also become much more innovative and tech-driven. From home-based camera, treat, and laser units that you can control with your phone while you're away, to toys that move quickly and provide a hunting play experience, technology has given cats and cat parents more to do than ever before. Next is the reality that anything is a toy for a cat. An empty box, an empty bowl, an empty shopping bag, all of those are toys, and anything in your home should be considered accessible for a cat. Any cat parent knows that a cat can find joy and adventure in places and things that most of us wouldn't find interesting. It doesn't have to be high-tech or costly to entertain your cat. You know your cat, and you know what they love to get into. Instead of getting upset, give them an alternative to play with and engage in that behavior. That also brings up training your cat. Yes, it's possible, and many cats will excel at it if you're willing to put in the time and have a little bit of patience. Cats are extremely intelligent, and they love to learn, thus their intense curiosity. Indulge it and train the behaviors you want. That'll certainly create a less chaotic and less crazy cat home. Finally, your cat wants to be outdoors. If you have the space, consider an enclosed outdoor area that will allow your cat outside time that is safe for them and other outdoor creatures. If not, consider dedicating at least one window to being a cat refuge where they can look outside and enjoy the beauty of nature from the safety of the indoors. Share your ideas on indoor engagement for cats on our Animal Radio Facebook page.
Dogs or cats, horse or emu, animals are people too.
She was shot, dragged by a dog, hung upside down, and then left in the household refrigerator for 2 days. But a duck, now named Perky, seems to have come back to life. A hunter's wife in Florida got an unusual greeting when she opened up her refrigerator door. A duck that her husband had shot 2 days earlier lifted up her head. She called her daughter, who took the duck to the vet. Perky the duck had suffered a broken leg and a broken wing, but was given to the Goose Creek Wildlife Sanctuary, where she'll live out her life in a sort of duck paradise. Now that's one lucky duck. I'm Britt Savage for Animal Radio.
Animals are people too. Animal Radio.
This is Animal Radio, baby.
Did you know Animal Radio is underwritten by Stella and Chewy? You know, pets thrive when they're fed the same food they'd get in the wild, and meal mixers are an easy, convenient way to add raw, nutrient-rich meat, wholesome fruits, vegetables, probiotics, and antioxidants to your dog's diet. Learn more at StellaandChewy's.com. Thanks, Stella and Chewy's, for underwriting this portion of Animal Radio. Which one are we going to?
Line 2, we have Robert.
Hey, Robert, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks a lot.
I understand you want to talk to Dr. Debbie.
I do. I was listening to the radio, I think last week. One weekend I just ran across the station. They were talking about pets, and I have a little small Shih Tzu Pomeranian, and she was having a few problems. So
what's going on with your baby there?
She was scratching her hind legs to where no more hair in the pack. And I bought some topical stuff, they say for hot spots, and it doesn't seem to work. I was having to use it too much, and then I started thinking that it was going to be toxic for her to scratch and have that in her mouth. So I'm going to be moving where I live now. There's carpet, and I had a cat, but she passed away. She was indoor, kind of outdoor, and Cheetah, the dog, is primarily indoors. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's the fleas in the carpet. I do take her to the groomer once a month at least, and they give her the flea bath, and I do get the Advantage. And at this point, I don't even know if the Advantage is working. Okay. So I just want to know, because I just hate to see her suffer.
Yeah, definitely. And if she's got areas where she's actually getting bald and we're starting to see skin showing through, then for me that says that the itch is significant enough. We need to kind of maybe up the ante here a little bit as far as trying some more things. And I definitely would look, number one, at flea control and make sure all of our efforts are as thorough as we can. So a flea bath is great. That will help to kill those critters that are on your pet at the time, but definitely to follow up with that topical product at home. Now, the other reality is if you have a cat going inside and outside, we can have a lot of opportunity for reinfestation. So your efforts could really be second-guessed by that kitty's activity. So let's make sure that cat is treated as well with an appropriate cat product.
So I have a flea collar on her all the time. And like I said, I put the Advantage, but to me, putting the Advantage by her neck is like, how does it take care of the whole dog?
Well, basically it gets distributed into the glands in the skin, and then that way it's distributed to the pet kind of systemically. However, the thing I think is that, I don't know that our efforts are necessarily wrong in what you're doing, but I just want to make sure that we're still encompassing environmental control as well. So if you do have a critter that's going inside and outside, even if you're treating your doggy as thoroughly as you can, we got to make sure that the environment is treated. So that may mean that we need to do some treatments inside the home and to that kitty as well. So I think that might be really where I'd say our efforts we would need to go. And, definitely if we've been on a product and we're not seeing response after several months, then, I might look at another one. But for me, I think there's a lot of opportunity here with your household and the behavior of the animals that we could really work more on the environment. So even though you've got
I bought the carpet flea treatment. So once I moved in here, I wanted to change my attitude about when it comes to cheetah. So I do treat the carpets in the 2 rooms that have carpet.
Good. So I'm happy with that then, and maybe that is what is making the difference here in improving your pet's comfort there. Now, if for, let's play devil's advocate here, and if the itching continues and we see continued hair loss, even though you've got this move and these changes, then I might start looking for things along the allergy line. And so we might look at getting into some antihistamines to help control itch, maybe a fatty acid supplement that can help kind of restore the natural luster to the hair. And then as far as the topical, I'm not sure what products you're using, what ingredients are in there, but sometimes we can find things that have topical steroids that have nice anti-itch relief. But other times, really, we don't want to hit these pets with a lot of irritating substances and a lot of different drugs on their skin surface. We may want to use something very soothing that may be more colloidal oatmeal-based. So that might be even another direction. If the itch isn't quite bad and we think we got the fleas under control, that you look for something that's got kind of more that natural oatmeal base, and that might give her some good relief there.
Well, how would I know if she's allergic to the food?
Oh,
someone told me that she might be allergic to her food, and right now I'm giving her, I believe it's Proactive, something with lamb. I don't know. I was giving her Beneful before we stopped. No, this is Imes. I'm giving her Imes now.
For allergies, there are definitely inhalant allergies, things that are in the environment the pet is, exposed to, and then there's the food allergies. Food allergies are very difficult to prove. The way that we figure that out is we actually put the pet on a hypoallergenic diet trial. So that's not necessarily saying I'm going to pick a different brand of food, because that's the wrong approach. It's not necessarily food brand that is bad. It's food components or the ingredients. So with that, we can talk about trying a hypoallergenic diet. There's oodles out there, and we could probably have a conversation about 45 minutes about how we approach food allergy. But the big thing is I talked to your veterinarian about that possibility, and if that is something we need to get into. For me, if I have an itchy pet, we've got good flea control, and especially if this is a young doggy, maybe 6 months to a year and a half, I really look at food allergies seriously. And if someone tells me they've tried a hypoallergenic diet and it didn't work, I say, we'll try another. Because no pet follows the rules on which food is going to work for one pet versus your neighbor's pet. So you do sometimes have to bop around a couple different foods. So hopefully, that might be even something to look into for your youngin', because you said she's about 2 years thereabouts. So give that a whirl. And I think you've got a lot of good direction there with the flea control and getting this baby set in the right environment. So good luck with her, and hopefully that skin stays under control. And give a little cheetah a pat on the head for me. This is Dr. Debbie with Animal Radio. We're here waiting for your call at 1-866-405-8405.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405. Celebrating the connection with our pets. This is Animal Radio, featuring your dream team, veterinarian Dr. Debbie White and groomer Joey Villani. And here are your hosts, Hal Abrams and Judy Francis.
Okay, here is the number. It is toll-free, 1-866-405-8405. And you can also ask your questions from the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android, as well as, I believe, directly from our website at animalradio.com. And the phones are ringing white hot today. There's a lot of controversy about pot for pets, whether or not they should have it for therapy, for medicinal purposes. And there's some brand new products on the market that includes derivatives of marijuana. We'll be talking to Dr. Katz. Is that his name?
Yes,
really?
It is. Dr. Stephan Katz.
Okay, he'll be on.
Your name, Dr. Katz.
What do you know? I think he's going to be talking about dogs, though. Lori, what are you working on over there in the newsroom? The palatial Animal Radio newsroom.
Yeah, it just echoes with dog barking in the background. We're going to talk about this one couple who has just they're heartbroken because they've lost their dog, Jack Russell. And they have done some really outlandish things almost, trying to get their dog back. Trying to, get leads and find the dog again. So we're going to tell you what they've tried. It's expensive things and if they've worked.
Okay, that's on the way. I'd spend just about as much as I could to find my animal if it got lost. We'll find out what they did. I understand some pretty crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go to the phones for your calls. 1-866-405-8405 for Dr. Debbie and dog father Joey Villani. Well, hello, Anna. How are you doing?
I'm very good. And how about you, sir?
Very good, thank you. You have such a cheery voice. Where are you calling from today?
Los Angeles, California.
Oh, well, that explains why you have such a cheery voice.
I'm trying to be cheery, but deep inside it's not because of my dog.
Oh, what's going on with your dog? Tell us.
Okay, so my dog is 15 years old and 6 months. He was born in November 2000 in Japan, and we had a wonderful bonding, and that was 2 years ago. My dog starts to have his thyroid, as per my vet. Then he told me that JJ is suffering from that kind of sickness, the thyroid one. Then, it comes to that point. I felt that it's getting worse, and he has his cataract, he has his arthritis, and he is limping sometimes. He is overweight, and I guess 22 to 24 pounds. And sometimes, and lately, that was 2 weeks ago, he started 2 weeks ago, coughing nonstop during the evening, and something on his last cough, a big abrupt from that cough, the last one. Okay. So I said to myself and asked opinions from my other colleagues and my friends, why are you letting him suffer? And he is already 15 years old and 6 months. And would you like to have that kind of suffering with him? So sometimes my first time to have a dog, and I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to lose him because we had a great time together. We live in Japan, we live in Canada, and right now in the United States. And I feel so guilty. It's just like those kind of feeling I have right now. I don't want to lose him, but I should because I love him because I don't want to suffer. So that's why a continuous medication just to lift him up.
Sure. And Anna, I got to ask you, you say what your friends and your colleagues have said. Have you talked to your veterinarian? Has your dog been in for that cough? And did they give you an assessment and a recommendation on what they thought was going on?
No, not yet, but I have a schedule this coming Friday to the vet because the vet told me he has his thyroid already, so he have his medication and everything. Then something happened that I thought it's only a kennel cough, but it's not. So it's getting worse.
Well, okay. So I'm gonna tell you a couple things here. So you mentioned off a list of a lot of medical conditions that are, acquired throughout a dog's life, just like through people's lives. Having cataracts and having cataracts and having a thyroid problem and having arthritis is those are conditions, and those can be treated effectively with medication. So those by themselves aren't really reasons that I would say, oh my goodness, you're being cruel, that you need to put him down because of those conditions. But I do think, this coughing is something significant that needs to be looked at. Because in a dog of his age, there can be some serious problems that can cause that. Some of those we can intervene with and help. And I do think time is a bit of the essence here in an older pet. If we have, signs of, say, congestive.
His schedule this coming Friday to find out and what is it. And I'm gonna seek advice from the vet too. So what will be the best thing? So
exactly.
And once more, he got his cataracts and he cannot hear anymore. So I felt that my dog is not happy already, and sometimes I put him in my arms and sleep together. He just keeps on staring at me, even though this is not smelling at me, and put his paws on my chest. So I'm just only a human being that I cannot let him go, but sometimes I pity him when I feel him he cannot breathe sometimes because of the coughing.
Right. So it is so difficult, I think, because when our pets are in these conditions or having difficulty with medical problems, I think our instinct is we want to know, what would I want if I was in that situation? And our pets can't always answer for themselves in a verbal way, but we do need to look at some of the things that they do from time to time and what are their everyday activities. So for myself, I've counseled a lot of clients and pet owners through this type of process and deciding when is it time to let go. When have we tried everything we can and we don't have a quality of life? And I've gone through this myself with my own pets as well. And it is a difficult process. But the things I think there's basically kind of 4 criteria that I look at. And they're basic things, is a pet continent? Are they mobile? Are they eating? And are they kind of enjoying the quality of life? Do they retain what they used to do? So a lot of those things we can help. I had an older dog that pooped in the house. I cleaned up after him. I provided areas where it was sanitary, where if he did mess, that I could keep it clean and away from the rest of the home. I had a pet that couldn't walk well, so we assisted her outside. We had tools to kind of help her get around. And those kind of things you can manage, but certain things like a lack of an appetite or losing kind of their joie de vivre, their interest in doing what they used to enjoy. If your dog has enjoyed playing ball or watching the mailman come to the door or getting belly scratches, those are the kind of things, the subtle things that we really need to take into consideration when we get to the end of life discussion, to really look at everything as a whole, because we can try to support those medical failures, the pet's not getting around, anti-vomiting medicines, appetite stimulants, but if we don't have what used to make your dog and that joyful bond that I can tell that you've had through these years, then that's really more so than when I have other people telling me it's time to put a dog to sleep. That's when people say you will know.
Yeah, I'm on the middle of decision right now if I'm gonna let him go, but it's painful. I can't do it. So we're leaving this next week, going to Canada because so that my parents will saw him as last glance before he loses and everything. So I don't know yet. So it's still hanging on there. So I just need only my, of course, when I hear your radio station, I said to myself, maybe I'm going to give a try so that I can be calm too as well. That's why I'm just going to get this kind of opportunity. And thank you very much for listening to me.
Absolutely. My thoughts go out to you and your baby. And definitely, this is where a veterinary professional really can help you kind of fill in those blanks when it comes to what we can or can't do from here forward.
That's why, for me, I don't know yet if I'm going to let him sleep or not, because my feeling is just go, no, something like that. Because I know that my dog is just like putting his paws on my chest, and I know he cannot see, but smelling on me. I don't know what is it all about. So I don't know. I feel guilty. I just felt so guilty about it.
No, you shouldn't. I mean, this is the end of life decisions for pets. I mean, that's how you really showed your love. It really is. I firmly believe that. Your pets have given us so much through their lifespans. It is the final way we can give that back.
Yeah, and the bottom line is, he's no longer dancing anymore, standing. Then he doesn't. I felt that he's not happy anymore. So that's why I pity him.
Well, Anna, all of us are putting our arms around the radio right now, and we are just giving you a big hug, and we're with you. As fellow pet lovers, we know what you're going through, and we're thinking of you.
Anna, our heart is heavy for you. I hope the vet will shed some information and let you know exactly what the status is of your dog. Anna, thank you so much for calling today. Toll free, 1-866-405-8405 to reach out to the Dream Team right now.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
People say less is more. At Red Barn, we think less is better. It's what you won't find that sets our natural premium pet food apart. No byproducts, no corn or soy, no fillers. Just the natural ingredients your pets need to live the healthy life they deserve. Look at the label. We want you to. Red Barn Naturals Pet Food. Simply the best. Find it in your local pet specialty store. Red Barn canned food for cats and dogs is grain and gluten-free.
I am the family dog, and it's that time of year again. The one where pet parents start looking for Fido-friendly hotels and destinations where Fido is welcome. Make no bones about it. Pets are part of the family, and we like to sniff out new places too, and we hate to be turned away, especially when we're on our best behavior. So we won't be left out in the cold. Be sure to pick up a copy of Fido Friendly Magazine to find the best hotels and destinations where Fido is always welcome. Go online to FidoFriendly.com and subscribe today.
No matter what kind of allergy day you're having, relief can be yours with Nasacort Allergy 24-Hour. Its prescription-strength medicine effectively relieves your worst nasal allergy symptoms, including congestion, for 24 hours. Nasacort has no harsh taste, is non-drowsy and non-addictive. Unlike Flonase, Nasacort is scent and alcohol-free. For effective nasal allergy relief, choose Nasacort. It's guaranteed relief or your money back. Details at Nasacort.com. Use as directed.
At Geico, we've been innovating car insurance for over 75 years with forward-thinking ideas like online quotes and the Geico mobile app. And, to prove it, we'll play one of our first radio commercials from 75 years ago.
By Jiminy, Geico could save you money on your car insurance, which is what we'll be doing over 75 years from now. Who knows, maybe with some sort of application that's accessible on a futuristic handheld device. We'll call them online quotes.
See? Forward-thinking.
Geico, saving people money for over 75 years.
Hey everybody, this is Kenny Lee Lewis from the Steve Miller Band. Just want to tell everybody out there on Animal Radio, thanks for loving your pets.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
It's Animal Radio, celebrating the connection with our pets. Here is the toll-free number, 1-866-405-8405. Don't forget you can also ask your questions from the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android, thanks to those folks over at Drs. Foster's and Smith. It's a free download. And in just a few minutes, we're going to tell you where to put your cat poop. because apparently there's some people that are putting their cat poop in the wrong place.
Is it just cat poop? Because, dogs poop too.
Well, in this particular case, I think we're talking, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're talking about kitty litter, and I think people are taking it and they're putting it down their toilet.
There are some other animals that use litter.
Okay, so if you have any one of these animals that uses litter, you want to be listening up, especially if you're dumping it down the toilet, because there's more things that could go wrong than plumbing problems. And we'll find out about that in just a couple of minutes right here on Animal Radio. Also, Dr. Stephan Katz will be joining us, part of the proliferation of cannabis treats and hemp treats.
Therapy.
You say therapy?
Yes, he doesn't. He's not calling them treats. It's not just a treat.
It's a therapy. It's like a medicine?
Yes. There's
okay.
therapeutic benefits from
for your
product.
dog?
Yes.
Or cat? Or is it just dog?
I think it's just dog.
Okay, we'll find out in just a few minutes. He's going to tell us why you should be feeding your animals this marijuana derivative and what it's good for. I always thought that pot was dangerous for the animals, so I'm going to ask him. That's going to be my first question, or my second question, because I have a list of questions.
Are you hungry too? Do you have the munchies out?
What are you working on over there? I noticed there are no animals in your studio today. What's up with that?
Oh, you're wrong. Parker did sneak in a
Parker's
little while
in there?
ago, but he's sleeping. He's usually rubbing his head on the microphone, but he is sleeping now. We're going to find out, it is incredibly more and more often people are saying, you're feeling guilty if you take your dog for a ride in the car and they're not secured somehow with a restraint. Now they're saying that, some of these restraints, not so good. So we'll tell you really what the bottom line is on that and some of the things you need to look for.
I'm always thinking about our animals and if they should be restrained and what kind of restraint to get for them because, if I came to a sudden stop, they'd be a projectile. They'd go flying through the...
When we grew up, we didn't wear, we rode in the back of pickup trucks.
Yeah.
We didn't wear seatbelts, and now that's totally changed. And you never even see dogs really in the back of trucks anymore. So it's a different world.
I've used a seatbelt for Boss, and it saved him from getting throttled into the, a short stop that I did, and he could have hit the dashboard. It's certainly not probably the best seatbelt out there, but it was something, and it served its purpose, and I was really glad to have it at the time.
Was it designed for animals and for dogs? The seatbelt?
Is, yeah. So it's a harness that fits into the seatbelt assembly, and high impact. I don't know how great it would have been, but this kind of small, like almost near fender bender, it really did save him from getting scared, getting hurt. And I think we really need to push for more study and
definitely.
Yeah, you always say something is better than nothing, but I think there actually are some products that could really be harmful in an accident.
This is what Lori's going to be talking about in just a few minutes because if you have a seatbelt for your animals, no matter where you got it or what brand it is or how safe you think it is important that you hear what Lori has to say because it's some revealing news about your brand of seatbelt guaranteed on the way.
So much for quiet, huh?
Yeah. You want to go to the phones, Doctor? Let's do that. Toll free,
please.
1-866-405-8405. Hey, Mark, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
What's going on?
Well, we got our little girl, Joey. She'll be 7 years old in a couple of months, and she's a long-haired gray domestic. And lately, she's been, fur balls come up once in a while, but lately she's not chewing her food up. We've got her on Purina indoor formula. She's an indoor cat, and she always comes out of good health with all her checkups and everything, but she's not chewing it up. It's shaped like little M&Ms, and they'll come out whole, and we're wondering what we can feed her, switch her to.
You said she's been checked out by the veterinarian. Did she go to the vet recently?
Yeah, for her annual checkup.
Okay. Because for me, when I hear that Kitty is kind of vomiting up the food, the first thing is she's eating it, but she's just not really chewing it. She's just swallowing it as it is, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So now there are some different shape distinctions cats have, and food manufacturers for dries, they try to figure out the right shape that is most appealing. The truth is that some cats don't really chew all the shapes the same, and some will just really gulp it. And this is why some cats with no teeth can effectively eat dry food, because they don't always really spend a lot of time masticating it, if you will. But if your kitty is vomiting, I'd say, this diet may not be a bad diet, but it certainly certainly would be something I would consider changing. The first thing I always start with a kitty that's vomiting a food is, it's reasonable to try a diet change, sometimes going towards more of a hypoallergenic variety, rather than just saying I'm going to brand B, C, or D down, the grocery aisle. So with that, I would see your veterinarian, make sure we have a good checkup. We might want to get some basic tests done, because in some cases vomiting is really more than just about diet problems. It can be about something else kind of going on inside. So I wouldn't want to miss something of that magnitude and that importance. So that would be my little commercial to see your vet and have more done than just that physical exam, because as good as we are, we can't always tell everything by looking. So we do have to rely on those clues, those tests, if you will. But the other part of your question is, what can you feed? And there's actually a whole new thought in cat nutrition that's really going out there. And this is totally different than what we learned, 10, 20 years ago in vet school. I'm not really that old. I'm just saying, people. But the new mentality with cat nutrition is that we're actually looking at canned food as a good thing for a couple reasons. We know that it gives cats more opportunity to drink and take in more fluid. And most times, too many of the dry foods are really high in carbohydrates, and we really want a more protein-rich food with a lower carbohydrate content. And that sometimes the canned foods really fits that really well. And sometimes things like fiber really aren't going to be all that helpful, especially if we're having a constipation type problem in some kitties. So while the hairball formula sounds like a great idea, I think I would probably consider even going to a canned variety, something that has lower fiber, higher in protein, lower in carbohydrates, and gives your kitty a more opportunity to drink, and see how that goes. But really, I would definitely, if I had your baby here in front of me, I'd probably poke her with a needle, draw some blood, and maybe shoot an X-ray of her belly, and making sure there's nothing really awry that shows up on there. How's that for like a whole prescription there, Mark?
Perfect. I got it all scribbled down. We were kind of thinking maybe a canned food would be a better way to go. Hi, this is Fred Willard on Animal Radio, and I'm begging you, spay and neuter your animals. I'm sitting up and begging. I'll go over and play dead if you want. I'll follow you anywhere you want to go.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Find us at animalradio.com. Log on, learn more.
This is an Animal Radio News Update, brought to you by Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Pharmacy, with prescription medications and over-the-counter products like Advantix flea and tick medication delivered right to your door. Learn more at fosterandsmith.com.
I'm Lori Brooks. Did you hear about the dog that went out to do her business and returned a few moments later as a crime-fighting hero? Miley is a black lab mix, and she will now receive a congratulatory certificate for bringing home a pound of marijuana that started an investigation by the Jones County, Mississippi Sheriff's Office. Here's how it happened. It was just a few weeks ago. Miley left the house on her, routine bathroom outing, and she brought back what appeared at first to the owners to be trash, and she had already torn through the packaging. But on closer inspection, Miley's owner suspected, this looks kind of funny. It might be marijuana, so she contacted authorities. And Miley, by the way, could fetch up to $1,000 reward for her big fine.
Wow, that's a lot of dog bones. $1,000 worth of dog bones?
It sure is. And a lonely dog from Hendersonville, North Carolina, had little chance of being noticed and rescued from the neglectful life he had been subjected to. But all of that changed thanks to a group of construction workers who were working next door, and they noticed him. The dog's name is Demo, and he was living in a muddy outside pen chained up on the property of a house that was vacant. Now, Demo had no real shelter outside other than a plastic doghouse that was sunk about a foot in some mud. Well, it turns out they found out the owner was in jail, and family members occasionally stopped by to check on the dog. But all they did literally was toss food into the muddy pen. So just last month, a report on the dog situation went viral, and city officials there in Hendersonville were able to persuade the prisoner's elderly father to give up custody of the dog, who is now called Noah. And for Noah, the days being spent alone, shivering in the mud and with no loving human touch are gone forever, because he's had several offers of adoption coming in from all over the world. I'm Lori Brooks. Get more breaking animal news anytime at animalradio.com.
This has been an Animal Radio News Update brought to you by Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Pharmacy. With everyday low prices on products like Quellin and Rimadyl delivered right to your door with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Learn more at fosterandsmith.com.
Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Supplies have a Vet VIPPS accredited online pharmacy covering all your pet's needs, from heartworm medications and anti-inflammatories like Rimadyl to non-prescription items like Canine Advantix Flea and Tick Preventive. Doctors Foster and Smith has your pet covered. We'll even contact your vet for you, all with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Low prices every day with free shipping on orders over $49. Shop online at fosterandsmith.com because your pet's health and happiness come first.
Did you know canine caviar diets are formulated with common health concerns in mind, such as diabetes, cancer, and kidney disease? You see, canine caviar uses low GI carbs, which reduce hunger and prolong physical endurance. Free of GMO, gluten, hormones, steroids, and antibiotics, canine caviar's 5-star dog and cat foods are the only alkaline-based foods in the world, and that promotes a healthy lifestyle for your furry family. Find out more at caninecaviar.com.
You're listening to Animal Radio. If you missed any part of today's show, visit us at animalradio.com or download the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
It's Animal Radio, celebrating the connection with our pets. Toll free 1-866-405-8405 to chime in or speak to the Dream Team. And over the last few months, we talked about several different cannabis-based treats that are available for your animals. And this is always curious to me because I always thought, first of all, that the pot was bad for your animals. And apparently there's therapeutic values to it, as there is with human medicinal marijuana, I guess.
It depends on the extracts, yes.
So are there certain extracts that are different than others?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There's some that have more potential for some of the euphoria and the bad signs that we see in a toxicity of dogs. And then those which don't have that, but still, have some finding for anti-anxiety benefits or anti-inflammatory benefits. But it's a challenging area because, veterinarians can't prescribe marijuana. It's not permitted.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so until the DEA kind of reclassifies things, you can't go to your veterinarian and have them prescribe marijuana for you.
Okay. Good to know. There's this one brand that just came out, and Dr. Stephan Katz, I believe we've had him on the show before. Doctor, welcome to the show.
It's wonderful to be on for the first time.
Well, welcome. We're all very curious about your Therabis, which is a cannabinoid. Cannabinoid. How do you spell that? Cannabinoid.
It's got a form. It's a formula with a hemp powder base that has numerous natural ingredients that also includes the compound known as cannabidiol, otherwise known as CBD, which is a compound, a cannabinoid found in the marijuana plant, that has absolutely no psychogenic capability whatsoever.
So they don't get high off it?
At all. No.
Okay.
There are right now over 80 different separable cannabinoids, which are compounds found in the cannabis plant. Many of those have great medicinal potential. There is only one, delta-9 THC, that gets you high. Okay? That is the only one. I am also a New York State Assemblyman, and at an Assembly Health Committee hearing about medical marijuana, there were 20 different people who gave testimony. I expected it to be primarily people with, chronic back pain, cancer patients, pancreatic cancer, people receiving chemotherapy treatments. Excuse me.
But aren't they talking about the full-blown marijuana that is not separated from the THC?
No, that's why I want to disabuse you of that.
Okay, please.
In no way marijuana that gets you high that also, by the way, does these other things. These are compounds such as CBD, which are organically extracted using what is called supercritical CO2 extraction.
Most importantly, how will this help animals? How will this, is it?
For example, I have 3 formulations right now.
Okay.
One is called Up and Moving. One is called Calm and Quiet, and the other one is called Stop the Itch. Okay. The Up and Moving is a formulation that contains things such as, yes, hemp powder that is derived from the seed, stem, and leaf of an industrial hemp plant. You know, the things that they use to make rope and dresses and put into creams for women. And the CBD is a well-known anti-inflammatory among its other properties. For example, in my practice, separation anxiety, I have one of the largest pit bull practices in the country.
I heard about that. Congratulations on that, by the way. I think that's very cool.
In my practice, client leaves the house, comes back home, half his wall's been eaten.
Yeah.
Okay? And so the Calm and Quiet, which you start seeing its action within 20 minutes, does exactly that. It's great for dogs that are either traveling in a car or going in small dogs that are going in airplanes with their owners. I've had incredibly successful results with things like that.
So how is it administered? Is it in pill, capsule,
It's
chews?
administered as a highly palatable powder that you can either, throw into some peanut butter and make a ball, make a treat out of it, or you put it right on the food. And it's highly palatable. We did our initial palatability study with 50 dogs, and 49 of them loved it. And one was an idiot, so he doesn't count. I really need for you to understand that I am not using medical marijuana. We are using, number one, it's derived from hemp, which is different than marijuana.
It sounds like you spend a lot of time defending this.
Well, because I kept hearing you talk about marijuana for dogs, okay? And this is not marijuana.
Okay.
Okay, and it's very important for you to understand the difference, and it's sort of what my mission is over the next few years, to train and teach about the medical properties of the cannabinoids that are found in the marijuana plant.
So this can be
what is important to me. No, none of this stuff gets them high.
So this
and
is
obviously that's the first question that everybody asks me.
Well, it's actually on your sheet here of questions to ask you, so that might be why. But that being said, I understand the difference. Thank you for clarifying that.
So this is legal. It can be shipped all over the country.
Correct. It has to be derived from industrial hemp grown outside of the United States and extracted. Excuse me. The cannabidiol extracted outside of the United States. So, in other words, I am employing the good people of Sweden, Spain, and Canada, and not the good people in Kentucky.
Dr. Stephan Katz, the website is therabis.com. That's THERABIS.com if you want to learn more about that. And, of course, links to everything you've heard on today's show over at animalradio.com.
I got a quick question for you, Dr. Debbie. I'm going to start pet sitting some cats, and she told me that they had feline herpes, and she's given me some things to do. My question is, what kind of precautions should I take when I come back home to my cats? Is this contagious? Should I just wash my hands, my clothing? Do they have to be in an outbreak before?
That's a good question.
It really is, and I would say usually it's by close contact, but it certainly has the potential if you get like respiratory secretions on you that you could bring it home. So for me, I would probably,
if they have oozy eyes, they
for
sit on my
you
lap.
Would probably what?
Yeah.
I would do a complete clothing change myself. I would, because when I had cats, I actually brought a respiratory virus home to my cats on my business clothes, and it wasn't a big deal, and it wasn't necessarily specifically herpes, but it can be something you can bring home. So I would just do a
I gotta
change
go over there twice a day. That's a lot of changing.
Yeah.
I'm just
wear
wondering if
gloves. You can wear like wear a smock or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think of something. Maybe I'll grab one of Hal's big shirts or something and just throw it over me. And
won't be using my clothing for that.
Oh, come on now. Guy shirts are for everything.
And then I would just leave it in the car.
There's a lot worse on it, huh?
Yeah, I would just leave it in. I could take it off before I come in the house, leave it in the car, and I can put it back on again when I go back over there in the evening.
Yeah, or leave it at their place and just kind of,
Yeah, I
didn't even know cats could get herpes.
Oh, yeah. They'll get eye things. They'll get respiratory things.
And they have drops if their eyes are oozing. And again, I was just worried. I got to thinking, man, I don't want to do that to my cats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and because it's chronic. It doesn't go away. It just kind of relapses.
See, and I think our cats had it before, didn't they?
Boog had that big fat lip, that rodent's lip. Is that a version of herpes?
I mean, it could be, but yeah, a rodent ulcer can be allergic type stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
I'll spray myself down with Lysol. And I mean, what about my shoes or things?
Yeah. I mean, you could either switch shoes, leave a pair down there, and just change out.
Okay.
I think you get the point.
Without having to do total decon, you can just kind of leave some things there that you're only going to purpose for that, and then when you're done, then you bring them home, disinfect them, wash them, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they would go straight to the garage for the washer. Wouldn't
There you
go
go.
In the house.
There's a little tip for you pet sitters out there.
Yeah, you got to be careful. You don't want to bring stuff home to your pets.
Yep.
Okay, well, thanks. I'm going to make sure I'm very, very careful.
Does anybody else have any questions before we go? We love having Dr. Debbie here.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405. You're listening to Animal Radio. If you missed any part of today's show, visit us at animalradio.com or download the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
Dr. Debbie White. We never say White, but I want people to know that you.
She does have a last name.
She does have a last name. She, a lot of these vets, they go by the first names. And what's funny is my doctors, they'll never do that. That would be, if I even called them by their first name, I'd probably.
It's a funny thing. I was offended by it when I first entered practice, when people would call me my first name. And, I think putting Debbie and doctor together is kind of
It's catchy.
It's a friendly term.
It is.
And still recognizing you're a veterinarian. You've earned a doctorate, so I think it's great. It's a great combination of both.
What do you think about pot or the derivatives of pot for keeping quiet and calm and itch and muscle and joint problems?
Well, I think this is a very interesting topic, and a lot of people in the medical world, human and or veterinary, recognize there are beneficial compounds coming out of the marijuana plant. The problem really is that, and he alluded to that, we can't have this produced in the U.S. because it's not allowed at this time. A veterinarian can't prescribe medicinal marijuana or cannabinoids for a dog for fear of losing their license. It's a schedule of drug we are not permitted to prescribe. So it really has to become something through regulation, and he obviously has been very passionate about that in trying to maybe make some changes so that it can be considered, because we want to do quality studies. We want to do things where we can actually measure the milligrams of something and not just put it in a nutraceutical and say it's in there, it's going to have a benefit. We want to measure that. And I think it's really got to change the whole, system in the U.S. to have that accepted and studied in a formulated way.
I think they'll get there, but right now I'm not ready to test it on my dog.
Nope.
Yeah. I'd have to agree. I'd like to see some work done.
Yeah. Little more.
Well, we certainly appreciate Dr. Katz coming on and telling us his side of the story, and time will tell.
But I think they'll get there.
This healthy serving of Animal Radio is brought to you by the grain-free Red Barn Naturals canned food for dogs and cats. Always made in the USA with natural, functional ingredients to support your pet's optimal health. You can learn more over at redbarninc.com. And thanks, Red Barn, for underwriting this portion of Animal Radio. Time to hang with Doc Halligan once again. And I got to tell you, the big controversy around here is whether to flush or not to flush. Now, I'm not talking about the bathrooms here at the Animal Radio studio.
Not the human waste.
Not the human waste. I'm talking about kitty litter because, there's a lot of kitty litters out there that they say they're flushable. And I'll tell you, the reason I don't flush my kitty litter down the toilet is really pretty simple, is that it would clog it up.
Yeah, I've never done it. I know a lot of the litters that are out there that I've seen say you can, but I've never done it.
But there's more to it than just that. More than just clogging it up. Doc, what's it all about?
Yes, you're absolutely right. septic systems were not designed to break down cat feces or litter. So if you do that, you are going to have a hefty plumbing bill.
Yep.
And the plumbers are just, frustrated because they can't believe people actually do that. So, yeah, you're right. You don't want to flush for that reason. But there's even a more important reason that people don't realize. When you're flushing cat feces down the toilet, some cats will have a protozoan in their feces called toxoplasma. And
I heard about that. Toxoplasmosis?
Toxoplasmosis is a disease that you get from Toxoplasma gondii, which is the parasite, if you will. That's present like in undercooked meat, in unpasteurized milk, in the soil. Well, sometimes cats can be afflicted with this, and they'll be shedding it in their stool. So if that happens to happen, and then it gets into the ocean, what happens is it sinks down to the bottom, and the little crabs and anchovies, everything, the bottom feeders eat that, and then the sea lions eat that, and they can actually die from this parasite. And there's research that shows that in California, 17% of the dead otters examined by the Department of Fish and Game, the cause of death was this parasite. So sea otters are particularly sensitive to toxoplasma.
Okay, so let me get this straight. If we flush our kitty litter down the toilet, not only do we have to deal with the plumber and all of that, but we could actually be killing sea otters and marine wildlife, is what you're saying.
100%.
Wow.
Yes. And in fact, California actually discourages the flushing of used cat litter, and they have legislation now that requires labeling on all flushable cat litter to warn consumers about the danger of flushing. So they'll be in like fine print on the packaging of litter that says it's okay to flush. If you look, it'll say that the state of California prohibits it.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Or is against that. The best thing to do, Hal, is to take it and in a biodegradable bag and put it in the trash, and then it will go into the landfills. And, that's the safest place for the kitty litter. Like in the wild, it would get buried up, right?
Yeah.
In the dirt. So
I would suspect, yes.
That's what, if a cat was looking to take a poop somewhere, they would do it in the dirt, and then they would cover it up, and then Mother Nature would,
take care of it from there, compost it from there.
Take care of it. Yeah, so there's a lot of these litters that try to make it seem like that's so bad for the environment when it's the exact opposite. Flushing is really bad for the environment, but just putting it in a biodegradable paper bag, not the plastic, but paper, and then just putting it in the trash, it'll end up going through the normal waste management, which is the way it should be.
That's good to know. Not a lot of people talk about how we should get rid of our waste, and that's so important to know. Yeah, don't flush it down the toilet. Maybe you live in a house where the plumbing is awesome and you can do that kind of stuff, but there's another reason not to do that there. So I'm going to put all this information, because there's a lot of numbers here, there's a little bit of research behind this. I'm going to put this information up over at the website at animalradio.com. And, of course, you can learn more over at LucyPetProducts.com.
Absolutely. There's a lot of information on our website now, especially under Cats Incredible. We have tons of information to educate people on kitties.
Doc Halligan, thanks so much for joining us again.
All right, thanks for having me.
Okay, it's another beautiful day outside, so we're going to get on out, take the animals on out for a walk. We encourage you to do the same. Before we go, I want to thank Dr. Stephan Katz for coming on the show, as well as Doc Halligan telling us where to put our poop. And I also want to tell you that if you happen to have a Yorkshire Terrier, a Shih Tzu, a Pug, or a Mini Schnauzer, our very own Dr. Debbie has a great read, How to Be Your Dog's Best Friend, and their Kindle books over at Amazon.com, and we have links from AnimalRadio.com. Is that it? Ready to go? Let's go. Have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Always a dogs, don't declaw.
This is Animal Radio Network.